Good morning. I hope you're ready to discover the Bible with me. Explore the Bible. Discover the Bible. Same thing. Okay. I hope you're ready. So grab your Bible, Matthew chapter 13. Now, last time we were together, we talked about parables. It is an earthly story with one important heavenly meaning. Okay? Now, this next parable, many people want it to say a whole lot of things, and it doesn't. It's really about two specific things, and I want to talk to you about that. So, Matthew chapter 13, we're going to start in verse 3 and we're going to read down through verse 9, okay? We're going to take it section by section, all right? Matthew chapter 13, and it says in verse 3, "And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, there was a sower that went out to sow." Now, this isn't the kind of sower that gets a needle and thread and sows. No, he was talking about farmers. There was a farmer and he went out to plant, and back then they would carry a big bag across their kind of like my purse. I put it across my shoulder, and then I can stick a hand in and I can pull the seeds out and throw them. That's how they spread the seeds. They didn't just go plunk, plunk, plunk. They would pull out a handful and they would cast the seeds, and it would go all over the ground, okay? So this is what he's talking about. Behold, a sower, a planter, went out to sow. He went out to plant seeds. And when he sowed, some seeds fell along the wayside, and the fowls came, the birds came and devoured it up. So when he's throwing out the seeds, some of it falls on the side that's not been plowed up. It's like the side of a road, okay? It just was in the ditch. It didn't make it to the good ground. And then what happened? The birds came and gobbled that seed up, and it wasn't used. It didn't grow. It didn't grow the plant. Let's see, verse 5, it said, "And some fell on the stony places where they had not much earth." There wasn't much ground. It was all stony. "And forthwith they sprang up, because they had no deepness of earth," okay? So their roots, when you put a seed in, it starts to germinate, it opens up, and it sends out roots. And because it was all stony, there was not enough dirt, and the plant sprung up, and then it just died because it couldn't get the nutrients out of the soil that it needed, couldn't get the water. Verse 6, so that's 2. Verse 6, "And when the sun was up, they were scorched." Those poor little plants died because they didn't have the deep earth, and because they had no root, they withered away. Verse 7, "And some fell among the thorns, and the thorns sprang up and choked them out." There were so many other thorns that there wasn't any good ground for the good seed to get into, and so those didn't make it to plants either. But verse 8, "But other fell on good ground and brought forth fruit." Okay, so say it was a corn. Say he was planting corn. No, let's say what they were probably planting, which was wheat, and they would just cast the seeds out there, and the seed would go and it would fly either on the side of the garden. It would fall into the dry, stony area that didn't have dirt. It would fall in amongst the thorns that were kind of on the edge of the garden, and then some finally made it into the beautiful soil. Now, the farmer had to go out, and he had to work that soil. You guys know, because you have Grandpa Ralston, who goes out and he plants. And he had to go out, and he had to dig in that soil and make the soil good, and prepare the soil so that it was ready for the seeds or for the plants to grow in. And that's what Jesus was talking about. The seeds are the gospel. The seeds are the good news about Jesus Christ. And when a preacher preaches, he gives those seeds to everybody. Now, some aren't going to listen. They're going to be like the wayside and not hear anything. Some are going to be like the stony ground, where the seed falls in and they hear a little bit, but nothing really clicks in their mind or their heart. Some might be in with the thorns, but some lands on good ground that's prepared. So when Papa and I go to the mission field especially, We spend a lot of time explaining things to people and building a relationship with them and making the soil of their heart ready to receive the gospel. That's what this is all about. The seeds are the gospel, and the soil is people's hearts ready to receive him. Is your heart stony and doesn't want to hear about Jesus Christ? Or is it prepared and ready to receive? Because I want to go on. In verse 8 it says, but other fell into good ground and brought forth fruit. Now it gets better than that. Some an 100-fold, 100 times. There was one seed planted and 100 came from it. Some 60, one seed planted and 60-fold came from it. And some 30-fold, one seed planted and 30 came from it. So all of them had good fruit, but some had amazing fruit because their soil was so prepared and so ready. And then he goes on and he says, who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Jesus wants us to have our hearts prepared, but he also wants us to go out and prepare the ground, prepare other people to hear the gospel, just by being a good testimony to the people that we're around, by telling our friends about him and having our life be a good testimony in front of them. That's what he's talking about here. So it was a parable. It was a heavenly story, or earthly story. This was a story all of these people understood because all of them had seen the planters out there throwing their seed. It was an earthly story with a heavenly meaning. The seed was the gospel. The good ground is hearts ready to receive it. I love you. Hope you're having a great day.